All right, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about arguing and fighting. And before we do that, I want to tell you a quick story. This is the second time that I've recorded this video. The first one, it was wonderful. I thought. I started out with this 40-year-old psychological study from Stanford, and slowly moved into the topic of fighting and self-identification with arguments and for 12 minutes I just geeked out on the whole thing. It was great. And then I asked my partner, my girlfriend, to come in and take a look at it and tell me what she thought and tell me how wonderful it was. And I walked away for a moment while she was watching it, and when I came back, she's like, "Oh my God, is it over yet? Like, I needed to hurt myself. I was so bored. Like, didn't like it at all." And I just like left in a huff. I was all upset. And I came back a few minutes later, kind of like head hello. I'm like, I think I just did the thing that I just made a video about telling people not to do. So before we get into this, I want you to know that the stuff I'm about to tell you, not easy. I fall for it a lot. Everybody I know falls for it a lot. And I think it's super useful. So arguing and fighting. What was it that happened to me that was what this video about? I had basically created this thing. This video was a creation of mine. It was something my subconscious, my inner, dark brain back there, took from inside of me as a part of me and said, here's this thing. And she looked at it and she thought, in her mind, poorly executed. Some good content, not very catching. And that's what she told me. I'm sure she didn't fall asleep. But she told me something very useful and constructive. And instead of hearing that useful and constructive thing, what I heard was that this part of me that I had vulnerably taken out and shown to somebody, I heard her say, this part of you is bad. This is just not only incorrectly done, but faulty. You are a faulty human being for having created this thing and shown it to people. That's how, obviously she didn't say that, but that's how my inner psyche took it. And this is a thing that we often do. We as humans, we do this all the time, which is we will have a creation or an opinion or an argument or a stance, and some part of our brain stops thinking. It stops thinking this is a objective opinion that I have and it's not myself. And instead it thinks this thing that I think, it starts to equate this thing that I think with who I am. And so we start taking our beliefs about politics and religion and equating them to who we are. And it's not just I am a person who thinks this thing, it's I am the person that thinks this thing. And they're the same thing. And so when somebody starts attacking or disagreeing with a belief that we have, what happens inside of our brain is instead of hearing, I don't agree with this position that you're holding, we hear, I don't agree with who you are as a person. We hear them say, because I disagree with this, I am therefore disagreeing with you as a human being. And they're disagreeing with who we are, not just a thing that we believe. Our psyche can't handle the idea that we are faulty human beings. Like we don't work that way. And so since we hear people say, again, they're not actually saying this, but since we hear people say, you are a faulty human being for thinking this, we start to fight back. No, I'm not. This is right for all of these very logical, rational reasons, and oh, by the way, if I think these and I have to be right, then anybody who thinks something different can't be right. So I'm going to attack back and I'm going to argue against you. And then the other person is going through the same exact thing. Well, my psyche can't handle it, so I'm going to fight back, and then we fight back and forth. And what has happened is the conversation has actually split into two levels. And this top level is the content of the argument, and it doesn't matter what it is. It could be something as contentious as abortion, gun rights, religion, politics. It could be something as simple as, I like Macs and you like PCs. The content here is the thing that everybody is talking about. And if you were watching it from the outside, if you were reading the argument, this is all that you would get. In addition to that, we have this thing going on down here. This thing here, this level of conversation, is the emotional, self-protective part of the conversation, which is, I'm an okay person. And because I'm an okay person, I'm going to defend this argument on this content level. And the other person is saying, yeah, but I'm an okay person, so I'm going to defend this. And so what happens is we start arguing up here about content. I like Macs better. I like PCs better. Blah, 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 blah. And we get vehement about it. We get like angry and uppity and way more emotionally involved than the level of content should suggest. Have you ever had one of those arguments where somebody stops in the middle and says, wait a minute, why are we fighting? I don't care about this. You like Macs, I like PCs. Who cares? Why am I attacking you as a person? Like, that doesn't make any sense. It's because we have split, and the attack and the anger comes from down here, and the content comes from up here. So that's effectively what happened to me, is that I said, I showed something, and I was showing her this thing from down here, and she looked at the content and said, don't really like how it's executed, and I took that to mean, Tim, you're a bad person. And I got all angry and all upset. And then eventually I realized it, and she did too, which was great. She pointed it out to me and I pointed it out to her. And then she said, you should really throw out the psychological study and talk about this instead, to my horror. and she was right. It's a better story. So that's an example of what happens when we fight. The question is, what do we do about that? How do we take ourselves out of this split conversation? There's some things you can do, and we're going to talk about it next week, because I'm trying to keep these videos to a little bite size. So in the meantime, what I'd like you to do is go through your week, and especially with people you know well, you get into the same argument with over and over, you get into religious, political debates about anything where you get like all hot and bothered about some position that you're holding or somebody else is holding. Watch for that, and watch for when the conversation splits between we're just talking about facts and ideas and all this, and maybe gradually, maybe suddenly, but something happens, and a second level of conversation is brought in, which is, it matters to me that I win this argument, and subconsciously it matters to me because I'm defending my humanity, myself. That's all for this week. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again next week. If you like this video, I'd love it if you click the like button down below. It helps all the algorithms, just help spread this word and get it in front of other people. So thank you, and I'll see you later.